This video is all about the Merlin 64 assembler for the Commodore 64. I will be covering many of the commands needed to successfully edit, compile, and run a program using the tool. This video is not so much about writing a program as it is more about learning the tool set. First off, I downloaded the Merlin 64 manual over at this link. I will be walking through the manual trying out many of the commands required to type in a program, edit, and run it. I did try to locate a physical copy of this software, but I was unable to find one. So I am interested if anyone knows where I could find a copy. So let's take a look here at this PDF here. After the introduction, you have the two modes of the program are basically the executive mode, which are how you run all the main commands from the main menu. Basically, it's the main menu commands. And then the editor, the assembler itself, all of the opcodes that it uses. The first thing it says is to go in and load Merlin, 8 and run. I went ahead and put Merlin Assembler up at the top. Someone named it Merlin Assembler on this version, but I just load quote asterisk, 8, 1 and then run. And then that will bring you right into the executive mode. From here, if you have a physical drive attached, you could do a catalog. And in here we have, of course, in Simulator, I have attached just this disk. And hitting enter brings you back to the catalog. Now, if you were going to load a source program, you would hit L to load. It will attach a .s to it. So you do catalog first, and let's load one off of here, like that first one there, dat.move.s. So l.move. You don't have to put in .s. Then it automatically brings you into the editor. From here, to see what's been loaded, you just type L to list, your program list. And you can see it's a short program, 23 lines long. We'll go more into the editor in a minute, but I'm going to hit Q to quit out and go back. The next thing down the line is append file. Append will do the same thing as load, but then put it at the end of the current program. So first let's do a catalog. And let's just append in the same program. So A to append, dat move, and then hit enter. So now instead of 23 lines, we should have 46 lines. It's the same program loaded in twice. Hit Q to quit. The next thing you can do, the read text file, it's basically almost the same as load, but it reads in text, a text formatted file. And if you want to learn more about that, check out the bonus segment that's at the end of this video. I'll cover that. The next command is a W to write a text file. So let's try that. Let's call it dat.move.txt. So now it was in a PRG format. I'm curious to see how it's formatted now. You can see it created a .move.txt and it's a SEQ, so it's in the text format now. Let's see if it loads. Oops, no. Let's see if we go into the editor. We're going to type new to clear out the old program. There's nothing there now when you do list. And then do read .move.text. Yeah, there it is. I think the main difference between the text mode and the source code mode, there's a few ways it handles carriage return line feeds a little differently, and so things get formatted a little differently. The next thing is drive change. You could switch your drive to disk 8 or disk 9, assuming you had more than one drive attached. E to enter editor mode. And then Q to quit back. O to save your object code. So if we were to compile a program, we may want to save the object code directly rather than run it. To demonstrate that, let's do a small program. So E for the editor, new, and A, and let's just do a small program. Load number 30, store it on the top left part of the screen. Load number 31, store it right next to it. Return. Assemble it. Hit N for that. We'll go into that command a little later. And then quit back and then save object code. And we'll call it screen, and it automatically appends a .o. So when we go into our catalog, there should be a screen.o. There it is, right there, screen.o. And then if we wanted to, we could quit out and load screen.o directly. Let's quit out of the editor, or quit out of Merlin. Say yes. Q to quit, and then yes. Notice you can type SYS 52000 to start it back. Oh, and I didn't put a org originate statement on that program, so it defaults to memory location 8000. Load screen.o, run it at 52, or nope, not that one, run it at 32768. See how it did a 0, 1 up at the top left? That was our program. So that's one way of running your program. Bring Merlin back up, just execute 52000, SYS 52000. You're back into Merlin. Now, let's go back into the editor, see if our program's still there. Now that saved the object code, but it didn't save the program source code. To do that, you do S to save source, and screen. So you don't lose your source code. The other way we could actually run your program is to do G and then do screen, and it looks for that object code. But see what happened there? It runs so fast, and I don't have a pause statement, so I don't even know if it ran right there. Alright, in this segment I want to talk about the monitor, the program monitor that's built into the Merlin 64 assembler. To get into it, you just type the word monitor, and then using the manual we can go over the commands, and unfortunately the copy that I found on the internet, it's a little bit blurry, but using the manual we can go into the commands pretty quickly. If we wanted to disassemble the program location here, we don't have an equate statement, but it defaults to the memory location 8000. So you can do 8000 L to disassemble the program starting at that memory location. The other thing you can do is 8000 H to show a hex dump. And then if you look at the manual, we can kind of go through the commands. If you wanted to type in your own commands to replace your own code there, we could go, let's say 800D colon, and then just type in what you want, 00, 01, 02, 03, 04, and then do a 800DH. And you can see there it displayed them. Let's see, 800DL, 01, 02, 03, 04. The other thing you can do here, it's showing you can do L to disassemble 20 lines at a time. If you do LL, you get 40 lines, and LLL, you'll get 60. 8000 L, 8000 LL, you get 40 lines. And if you did 3 L's, you'll get 60. Moving on from there on the next page, gets a little clearer. You can do multiple H's here, so we can combine them. We can have a range, so to speak. So 8000, 8100H. We can get a little bit of a hex dump of a memory range, which could be useful. There is a 0 page here. I skipped this one. You can actually move memory from one area of memory to another. I don't see how useful that is. It could be useful. It's nice to have that. Then you have a comparison. Compares the range of 2000 through 201F, starting at location 1000, and displays the differences when there's differences found. Then there's 1000G, which will jump to that program. That's how I've been executing programs, by just going 8000G to jump to that spot. Let's assemble our program again. And then let's go into the monitor, 8000L to disassemble it. And now let's jump to it, 8000G. Let's kind of quit out here. R, quit, E, monitor. Let's do it again, 8000G. See how it changed the top left to 01? So that's how you can see that the program ran. And that's the third way I know of running a program from the Merlin assembler. R is useful to return to the editor, and then Q to quit to the exec mode. I'll show you those two modes real quick. So R to return to the editor, back to here. And then if you do Q, this will bring you back to the exec mode. So unless I missed it, I don't see a find. That's the only other command I think that could be useful, would be to hunt. That's in other monitors. And then it shows H by itself does a dump from the current address. So if I'm at 8000 H, then I did H again, H, L to disassemble. So anyway, that's a quick look at the monitor. And then that pretty much is your executive commands. There's one more that I want to cover, the X for disk command. And the reason that you may need to run this, let's say we made a change to our program, because I didn't put that org statement in there. So I want to insert at line 1, origin at 8000. Now I want to save that, but I want to save it under the same file name. So we'll hit Q, and I'm going to type save source, and I want to hit enter to save, to overwrite it. Well, watch what happens. File already exists. Now, if we go in, we can use the X to do a disk command, and the easiest way to go about this is to find it in the manual here. All right, here it is. So the manual here is just a treasure. It's a gold mine. You come in here and just read all about all the different things you can do. So you have the option, you type X, then do S to scratch the file. S, colon, the file name, that will scratch it. Scratch means delete. Or you can go in and do R, colon, the file name, to rename it. The new file name equal to the old file name. And I'll demonstrate both of those right now. Now V does a disk verify. That's more for the old magnetic disks because they weren't so reliable. But let's go back into Merlin and let's rename our program. Actually, let's delete screen.s. So X scratch screen.s. Now let's save screen.s. And let's try, is it just V? Capital V. Let's see what V does. I've never done this one. Okay. Let's do a catalog to make sure that our program is still on here. There it is, screen.s. Now, say I want to change that to numbers.s. here it says to do R colon the new file name first equal to the old file name. So X R colon number dot S equal screen dot S. So that should rename it to number dot S. Now let's do a catalog. And now it's number.s up there. And then, of course, you'll want to change the name of your .o version also. So reading more about the save command, there looks like a way to overwrite the file without having to scratch it first. And it looks like if you do a @ the file name. So let's try that. S @ number catalog. Now to really test it out, so it's there, but to really test out if it made the change, we have to make a change to the program. So let's go in here, list it. Let's change this would be a good opportunity to learn the change command. Change line to, what is it? Change line number and then string. So let's change to 30 to 31. All. Let's change line 4, 31 to 41. So that's how you do the change command. And since we made a program change, now we have 31, 41. Let's quit, save, @number, so it overwrites it. Notice how it saves your previous save in there, so you don't have to keep remembering it. Now let's go to the editor, list, do a new list. So the program's been erased. Go hit Q. Then load number, @number, list 31, 41. So that worked beautifully. But that's just to show you, those are most of the commands here that I know how to do in the executive mode. Now let's focus gears on the editor. And let's kind of go through the manual here. Oops. I'm going to load a program in that I talk about in the bonus segment. Oops. Oops. Just to have a program in so that we can have some more line numbers to play around with. Oops. So now what that did, I did a read, so it appended to the previous program and it brought it all in. So notice when you hit L, you get a listing. If you don't want to see the whole thing, you can hit escape. See, I just hit escape and it stopped. The other thing you can do is hit L, hit enter. You can hit spacebar. That stops it. It will list one line at a time every time you hit the spacebar. The other thing you can do is to hit the tab, or sorry, on a standard keyboard, it's the caps lock is your control key to escape out of there. Now if you wanted to continue the listing from where you left off, you can hit slash. The other thing you can do, I believe, is hit period to continue. Period slash goes from where you left off. Period does the same thing over. It looks like the same, kind of starts over from where you were before. Just kind of learn with me here, I'm sorry. And then slash goes from starting from line 59 And if you just hit slash again, it stops also. So while you're listing, you can hit slash, slash again, slash, slash again, slash. So there's a couple of ways of breaking out of your program listing. Now if you wanted to start editing at line 1, do a E1, hit enter, see how it broke out? If we do mess up, you can do Control R. If you do it properly, it stores it back to the way it was before. Just hitting enter goes to the next line, but how do you break out of this? You can hit escape, breaks you out. Let's go to editor. So if you were to do E, now on any of these lines you could start typing over them, and there's a few things you can do. You can hit Control N to go to the end of the line, Control B to go to the beginning. So Control N, B, N, B. And all these commands are outlined in the manual. So here's Control B that I talked about, places the cursor at the beginning of the line, places Control N goes to the end of the line, R restores the line. Control A deletes the right of the line. Okay, so we could try that. So if I were to arrow over and do Control A, boom, I just wiped out to the right of where my cursor was, and it went to the next line. So, you know, here, just reading through this manual, you'll learn about all these different things you can do. Control F is a find. Control D deletes the character under the cursor. So let's try a few of those. Control D. See how it's deleting one character at a time. Let's do the Control F. Finds the next occurrence of the character typed after Control F. So if I wanted to go to that 4, I'm going to do Control F and then hit 4. Boom, it moves my cursor over to the 4. This F7 is kind of interesting, so it changes the case. Let's look at that. If we go to E, let's go to edit line 8, and I'm just going to press F7 and then F7. See how it lowercases it? List line 8. So F7, and then you use the right arrow key and it lowercases it. Oh, it'll uppercase it when you're doing a new line. Okay. Oops. F7. So alternate your case. Okay. So those are the commands you can do while you're in edit mode. And they're all listed right here, I guess, starting with page 36 in the PDF. Oh yeah, this was an interesting one. Control P. Let's do that one. I didn't show it. So I'm going to do insert line 1, Control P. Oops, the wrong button. Insert line 1, Control P. It does 32 asterisks. So if you wanted to, put your name in right here, Control P, and you could format your program a little with some commenting. The other option with Control P, to replace line 2. So I'm like right here and I do Control P. It automatically spaces it out, puts that asterisk over to the right. So as it says, it states right here, if it's entered as any other character of the line, it gives 30 spaces bordered by the asterisks. I mean, we can just look through a bunch of these. This video will be really long, so I want to go a little quicker. Once you get out of edit mode, and we're still in the editor, you have all of these commands to cycle through. But let's say we're in the editor, we're here, we're listing. Let's say I don't like lines 1 through 4. I can type D to delete 1, 4, and that will delete lines 1 through 4. So that's an example. The ASM command, when you do an ASM, it asks a question, update source, and I always hit no. But if you hit yes, it looks for something in your program code, and I'll show you what that is. You do insert line 1. I'm going to do the Control P, and let's just say I put in, insert line 2. Let's say I put in a asterisk, Control P, and I put in my name here. Oops. Control P. And I put in the date. Let's just say it's today's the 20th. Enter. Just for example. Now, when you do update source, sometimes it's been days between you've updated the source code. So what you can do when you type ASM, if you say update source, it brings you right to that line that has the / in it, so that you can go in and change it to the current date. I believe that's the intended use. And it talks about it here on page 26, how it goes to the first line in the source containing a / and you're placed into edit mode. So basically, I don't use that. I just say no when I compile. So I just showed you delete. I want to show you a few of these commands. They're really powerful. So on delete, I showed how to delete a range. But you have a few different options. You have a line number, then a range list. There's a few ways you can delete. With replace, you can replace a line number or a range, and then it puts you into insert mode. List, you can list a line number or a range. So like, let's get out of this. List line 1. List line 1 through 5. That's the range. List 100 to 150. That's your range. Now say you don't like those lines. Replace line 100 to 150. Puts you in insert mode. Replace it with a comment. Now you don't have those lines no more. So the program's a little shorter. Delete 213. Delete a range. Delete 210 to 212. The next thing I wanted to look at was find and change. These are interesting. So you can find a string, a line number, find a range, or a range list. But let's look at a few of those. So I'll say I want to find all the LDAs. If you just type find LDA, it lists them all in the whole program. If you say find 100 to 200 LDA, it just gives them in that range. Find 190 to 199 LDA. Just gives you the ones in that range. So that could be useful if you're trying to look for something in particular. The list, let's see, this lists those lines containing the specified string. It may be aborted with a stop or a / key. Since F7 case toggles works in command mode, you can use it to find or change strings with lowercase numbers. Now change changes the occurrence of the first D string to the second D string. So change this to that. Change this line number from this D string to that D string. Change this range, this D string to that D string. Change the range list to this D string to that D string. So let's try that. So let's kind of list the first 10 lines here, hit escape. Change 3, 7, quote LDA, quote XXX. All. There, that time it worked. So I had to put it in quotes to make that work. Now it also says you can just change this to that. Let's try it. But that will do the whole program, I'm assuming. So change XXX to LDA. All. Now let's try it again, but instead of doing all, let's do sum. Change LDA XXX sum. I'm going to hit S. Hit the space, and then I'm going to hit Q. Oh, it's not Q. Hit enter. Oh, so if I hit enter, it doesn't change it. If I hit space, it changes it. I guess that's how it works. And then I'm going to hit escape. If escape cancels out of it. So then we're going to go change XXX to LDA, all, and go ahead and do all of them. So that's how you do global search and replace. Okay, and then there's the copy and move commands. Copy 1 to 7 to 500. List the whole program. So it just put it at the end, it didn't put it at line 500. Now let's say I wanted to move that up to 200. So if I did move 210, comma 216 to, I want to say 201. Now list 199 to 220. And now it moved those lines in place. So that's copy and move using the range portion. Oh yeah, and now one of the commands that you can do from the editor are these conversions. So if you don't know what 52 is in hexadecimal, you just type it and hit enter and it translates it straight to hexadecimal. Likewise, you can do it backwards. You can put in 0A and it tells you what it is in decimal, and then it gives you the signed integer conversion to the right. So if we did $2A 42, if we did 160 A0, so that's a useful command. The find words is similar to the find command, the change word. The find word looks for, it finds a specified word only if it is surrounded in source by non-alphanumeric characters. It could be useful to do a search and replace with this find word, so in change word, as an alternate to just find. And then there's also an edit word. And then there's this val expression. You have to have compiled it first though. So if I did val color, okay, yeah, so it shows it's a 10. Val base 2000. And you're going to use the examples that it shows underneath. So you can do commands like that, val 1000 divided by 2. $800. And then you can do a binary conversion, which has me interested. Can you do this? No, but if you did val oops. If you did val some binary number, it gives you the decimal equivalent. Very cool. Add puts you in add mode. Let's do that. In this case, it puts you to the end of the program. So list 210 to 300. So A puts you in add mode. You're at the next line at the end of the program. There's I to insert, which is similar to add. These are most of your editing commands, and it doesn't show you how to write a program. That would take another video to look at all the opcodes that I didn't cover. I did not cover the opcodes in this video. Merlin 64 has its own special opcodes. And a lot of them are similar to what CBM Program Studio has already, so it's not that much different. Alright, in this bonus segment I'm going to show you how to take a program that was typed in from a modern assembler like the CBM Program Studio and then port it backwards into Merlin 64. There's a couple of steps that need to be done. So what I did when I first started this journey was I typed in a program from the SAM's book, the Commodore 64 Assembly Language Programming, from chapter 12, page 201. And I typed in that entire program, but then I converted it so it would run from the CBM Program Studio. And the steps that I had to do that were the equates, EQUs had to be changed to equal signs, and then the comments had to be changed to semicolons. And then I had one other issue was the program typed in, it used the reserved word byte, which is reserved in CBM Program Studio, so I just changed it to X byte. And let me run the program to demonstrate that it does in fact work. And let's go ahead and do that. And you notice the background, the border color is blue here. The program doesn't modify that, so whatever that border is, it will just remain that color. And this is what the program does, it draws the line across and through the middle. It's called Blackboard. So in order to bring this program directly into Merlin 64, we'll have to undo a couple of those things, and then we need a couple of tools to help us with that. I prefer to use a tool called Notepad++ to go ahead and do searches and replaces, but you'll get the point. Let's bring it in and go ahead and start on some of that. So the first tool you'll need is Notepad++. I'm going to do Control-A, copy. And then in Notepad++, I'm going to do Control-V to paste it in. And then we're going to undo some of those changes, like the semicolons need to be asterisks. So we're going to do replace. Semicolons with asterisks. Then we're going to replace equal sign with EQU, replace all. And then we're going to replace double space with single space. And on this one, you're going to have to do it a couple of times because the default settings inside Merlin 64 have a space as kind of the tab over spot. And then the last thing we need to do, it doesn't seem to compile properly within Merlin 64 unless this whole thing is uppercased. So I'm going to do Control-A, right-click, uppercase. And that's the last step. And then I'm going to go in here and do Save As, and I'm going to call it Blackboard, and just throw it on the desktop. Now the second tool you'll need is DIR Master, which I had covered in a prior video in greater detail. But we'll bring in DIR Master, and then we want to copy and paste that program in. So I'm going to bring up my desktop, drag over the program, and put it in right there. Notice when it puts it in, it's a sequential program, which kind of means it's in a different format than the other source code that's on there. Oops. I realize I didn't put the L in here, so I'm going to rename it to Blackboard and save it. And now we'll bring it into Merlin 64. I'm going to warp it. We'll do a catalog to see if it's in here. And there it is. It's still scrolling Blackboard. Notice it's a SEQ, which kind of in this capacity it's like a text file. Using the option L to load source won't work because for a couple of reasons. Right now it appends an S on it, but also even if you do rename it properly, it doesn't format properly when you load it in that way. Instead, you need to do R to read a text file, to read it in as a text file, and go ahead and do that. And R will append, so if you already had a program in memory, it will append to that program and put it at the end of it. But since we're starting off fresh, there's no program in there and it loads from the beginning. And see how cleanly it comes in? I'll warp that. And then, oh, there's a typo on 256. I must not have copied the last character in the file. We're going to assemble it, warp it, and then go ahead and execute it. And there it goes. Now notice also the background it maintained the border color of Merlin. So anyway, that's my quick bonus segment, and thanks for watching.